Wire, 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 wire. Where do I start? Hey there, I'm Amrita from Artria Jewelry, and today we're going to dive into the world of wire. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced wire artist, choosing the right type of wire is crucial for your projects. So, in this video, we will be exploring common types of wire used in wire wrapping. We'll talk about their properties, the hardness, the typical uses, as well as the different gauges, shapes, and textures. So let's get started. So first up, we have aluminum wire. It is an excellent option for those just starting off with wire wrapping. It is incredibly lightweight and very soft, making it super easy to bend and shape. This wire is perfect for beginners and for creating large, bold designs without adding too much weight to it. And it's easy to texture, it's soft, but one downside of it, it is sometimes a little too soft for some structural components. So I typically would use about a 12 gauge wire to make something that I wanted it to be a little sturdier. And then for wrapping, I would use a 20 gauge aluminum wire. Aluminum wire is anodized, which means it has this coating on it, and so they can do several different colors. You get a wide range of aluminum wire, so great for multicolored projects. And so here you can see I have this beautiful, brilliant blue, bright red, and then the standard aluminum silver finish. Next, we have brass wire. Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc, giving it a beautiful gold appearance. It's harder than copper and provides a bit more durability to your projects. It's great for pieces that require a bit more strength. So something like if you're making clasps or you need to make structural frames, this is great. However, it is slightly more challenging to work due to its hardness. So even the thinner gauges of wire, when you wrap it, it's a little tougher to wrap and hold its shape. This is a great substitute if you can't afford gold wire but love that gold look. Now let's talk about silver wire. This category includes both sterling silver and fine silver wire. Sterling silver, what you can see down here, is an alloy containing 92.5% silver, while fine silver, and I have that in this separate bag, is 99.9% silver. So silver is prized for its beautiful luster and easy to work with. However, it is pretty expensive. And so if you're just starting off, I would recommend trying to work with aluminum, brass, or copper. It's softer than brass but harder than aluminum. So it makes it a versatile choice for both decorative and structural elements. Is often used for high-end jewelry. You also do get silver-filled wire, which means it has a copper core and then a thick layer of silver around the wire, so you can hammer it the same way you would hammer this wire without damaging the coating. However, it doesn't work as well if you ever want to melt it and remake that wire or use the scraps of that wire. And I find that the price difference between a silver filled and a sterling silver wire is pretty negligible to warrant the wastage that I might have with the copper core. And so I prefer to save up and get sterling silver wire rather than invest in the silver filled wire, but ultimately it's personal choice. Next up, we have copper wire, and this is my favorite wire to use. They say gold wire or brass goes with warmer skin tones and silver goes with cooler skin tones. I find that copper goes with every skin tone, and so for me, this is something that I really enjoy working with and making jewelry that's accessible to everybody. Copper is one of the most popular choices for wire wrapping. It's due to its affordability and flexibility. So great to use for practicing designs before you invest in more precious metals like silver or gold-filled wire. It's relatively soft, and you can get copper that is dead soft, half hard, or fully hard wire, depending on the usage. It is easy to bend and shape, which is great for intricate designs. So copper wire can also come in various colors like aluminum. It can be coated, and so this is silver plated copper wire. The only thing with the plating is that it's a very thin layer, so sometimes you can scratch off the plating with your tools. If you wanted silver wire with a thicker coat, you would get silver filled wire. And then you can also get copper that has been coated to prevent tarnishing, and so it stays this bright. Here is an example of a wire that I've coiled and then I've antiqued it so you can see how the highlighted areas are the ones outside and then it's darker on the inside, giving it that beautiful depth. And so bare copper wire, you can antique it like this and it gives it a beautiful depth and dimension. You also get different shapes of wire. So this is a square wire, which you can see. I don't know if let me try to focus. It's squared off, and so it has four sides to the wire, so it's great for twisting. This is a half round wire, which means it's flat on one side and then domed on the other, so great for wrapping cabochons. And then you get flat wire, which is great for stamping and using for bracelets or hammered pieces of jewelry. And copper is the wire that I use the most in my projects. So copper wire does tarnish like silver does too, but copper can sometimes leave a greenish tinge on your skin. That usually happens in sweat with the copper, but once it happens a couple of times, the coating on the copper becomes inert to that, and you won't have that happen anymore. So for instance, I wear these bracelets every day. I don't take it off at all, so it goes with me into the shower. I have no green tint on my skin. And so once you start wearing it, you shouldn't see that. And it doesn't happen for everybody, but I thought I'd share that. Last one I've included in this video is stainless steel wire or surgical steel wire. Now, I don't use this for my typical pieces of jewelry. However, I use it to make ear wires because they're really sturdy. But also, if anyone has any metal allergies, this is a great inert wire to use for their products. You can also get memory wire, which is made of a similar material, which holds its shape and really tough to cut. It is the hardest of all the wires we're discussing today, and it offers maximum durability and strength. The hardness also makes it the most difficult to work with. So this is not something that I use very often, but like I said, I primarily use it for my ear wires. Now let's talk about wire gauges. The gauge of the wire refers to its thickness, and it plays a crucial role in your wire wrapping. Interesting thing about the gauge of wire is the higher the number, the thinner the wire, and the lower the number, the thicker the wire. So for instance, a 12 gauge wire is really thick, whereas a 28 gauge copper wire is super thin. Here, let me show you the comparison right here. So this is 28 gauge and this is 12 gauge. Here I have 10 gauge copper wire. This is grounding wire that I use sometimes to make my cuff bracelets or thick copper bracelets. It's a nice thick wire, but again, tough to work with. 12, 14, 16 gauge wire I would primarily use for heavy duty components or to make sturdy frames for my wire wrapping. And then you have 18 and 20 gauge wire, which is good for some structural elements, frames and clasps. It's great for 18 gauge wire is great for clasps for your bracelets and necklaces as well. And then I use 20 gauge for my ear wires. And this is a nice size, 20 to 22 gauge. If you're using 22 gauge, I would say get really hard wire. 20 gauge, you have a little more allowance with soft wire. You can work hard in it with a hammer. So this works well. For wrapping, I use between 22, 24, 26, and 28 gauge wire depending on the project. So 22 to 24 gauge wire is great for multiple wrapping stones, crystals, connecting different beads together. So this is my most versatile sizes of wire. When it comes to 26, 28, I don't use 30 gauge wire very often. I stop at about 28 gauge. This is great for the fine wire wrapping, weaving, and coiling techniques. So there you have it. That was a quick overview of the different types of wire used in wire wrapping, their properties, and the common gauges. Choosing the right wire can make a big difference in the outcome of your project. So experiment with it, have fun with it, and the more you do with wire, the more comfortable you get, and your choices you make will be more automatic. If you like this video, you will also like the basic tools you will need. So I will link those above in the cards and down in the description below. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Thank you for joining me today, and enjoy your wire wrapping journey.